Patrick Carver, and I'm the CEO of Constellation Marketing. We help law firms grow and add $20,000 to $100,000 in extra monthly revenue. This episode, we are going to be talking about what's hot right now, what's working right now, most importantly, in digital marketing for law firms. We're sliding into the second half of 2024, and so thought it'd be a good time to kind of take stock of what we're seeing work best, some of the changes we've seen over the past 6 months, and really talk through why SEO is still the best opportunity for law firms. There's been a lot of talk out there about how SEO is dead and social media ads are where it's at, but that couldn't be further from the truth. So let's get into what will be your most cost-efficient, best performing results, strategies for your marketing and advertising campaigns. So the first thing I'm going to cover is what I consider the biggest trend in marketing. This is really not just over the past 6 months, but I would say over the past year, which is social media. So this has really taken on a kind of outsized portion of the mind share of a lot of attorneys. And this is going to come in two forms. So when I talk about social media advertising, I'm really just talking about either paid social, so running ads, or funnels, as you might have heard them called that, and organic social. And as my dad would say, this is all hat, no cattle. And what I mean by that is it's a lot of talk, and there's a lot of folks really pushing for this, but over and over in our analysis, and when we see this actually built out with clients and with other folks that we see from the outside, it really just doesn't pan out the way that I think it's being sold. And so let's go through, talk about some of these two different areas and why we feel it's really not shouldn't be the core focus of your marketing. And so the first thing I'll say with both of these is that they absolutely can work. I'm not one of those people who believes in hard lines about the marketing side of your business. I am 100% for anything that works. And if you have carved out a strategy or a way to get value, whether it's billboards or social media, paid ads, etc., I am 100% for it. So where I like to kind of put myself into the conversation with regard to social media is that I think you hear from marketers who are really loud and they're going to take hardline stances. And so it's often the same thing as like kind of talk show hosts, sports talk show hosts who really just have to take a position because that's what's going to get people, going and really have this hard line. And so I know, and I'll talk about this more in a minute with SEO, but there are some very legitimate issues with how most people do SEO and a lot of SEO companies out there. And so it makes kind of an easy target to go after and say, hey, you probably had a bad experience with SEO. Here's the solution. And like I said, I think there's some, truth to that. Absolutely. And I'll cover that, but you have to kind of take this for what it's worth, right? You have to look at it and really evaluate it. And here, some of the challenges that I see with paid social. So we're talking about running ads on Facebook typically, and then usually bringing them back to a landing page and either sending out some sort of guide, or you're trying to book a direct consultation there. And they definitely can work. Number one, our testing, we found that the lead quality is very low. And this is going to be true, I would say, across the board. You are going to have to do a lot of fishing to bring home that one prize catch. Often, and we've tested this multiple times across different practice areas, different approaches, the leads that come in are typically extremely hard to find. They are not qualified. They're often not really even looking for legal services, especially if you use lead ads or things that make it easy for the person off social media to go ahead and click on that ad, which Facebook has done, where you can literally do one click and it'll populate the ad. There's really no incentive there. You haven't made them go through any sort of fitness test, right, to see if they are actually a qualified lead who has legitimate enough interest to schedule a consultation. So you're often left with these low-cost leads You see the numbers and you say, hey, the leads are, $20 a piece. I was paying $100 or $300 on Google Ads just to get one lead. But you're probably tracking these people down, calling them, emailing them, and it's like crickets. And we've seen this happen a lot of chasing people around. And ultimately, it's loss of money, it's loss of time for your intake team or yourself going and trying to track these people down and bring them in. And so we generally tell our clients to steer clear of this. There are some applications for advertising, I would say, that you can look at more top of funnel type stuff. And for certain practice areas, this is going to work way better than others. A couple I would recommend would be estate planning, potentially divorce, business, things where the immediacy is less pronounced, right? And so if you're a person who just got a DUI, your first move is not going to be to go on a social platform. It's not going to be go on Facebook to go look for an attorney. You're going to get out your phone. You're going to search DUI lawyer near me, best DUI lawyer near me, something like that, right? And so those people who are getting out their phone and making a decision to look for a lawyer are going to be your most high intent, whereas people on Facebook are really there to avoid making decisions in a lot of ways, right? They're there to hang out. They may have a legal issue, but they are not there going to look for it. And so fundamentally, the kind of nature of the audience is much different. Now, if you are doing estate planning, other things that maybe aren't as don't provide or have such an immediate need for legal services, I think this can work much better because you have a longer timeline to play. You can get people into a lead magnet like a webinar or a download or something like that, and then kind of slowly follow up with them and try to kind of build that rapport over time. But you got to remember, this audience is really cold, so they don't know who you are. They're not ready to come and typically get a consultation. And so the place where I have seen this effective is going to be more on the lines of that lead magnet approach, where you're giving something of value and then kind of courting them over a period of time. The other approach with social is really the organic side. And to be candid, I don't see this working for most law firms. Really, what we're talking about here is going on, posting content. It can be all sorts of different content. It could be case studies of results you've gotten. It could be funny office videos. It could be some combination of all of those things. But I hate to break it to you that is not what the general public is looking for, right? And what you've probably experienced if you've gone down this route is that you have your aunt and your grandma liking all of your posts, and probably bots as well. So those are probably the only real engagement that you've gotten on posts that you've done in the past, even if you've made them look really good and good copy, you spent time doing it, maybe you paid a social media agency to do it. But has that resulted in any cases? The answer is probably no. And the reason for this is that most people don't really care about what a law firm is providing in terms of content that they would go on and engage with in a social media environment. Occasionally, very, very rarely, you can strike gold here, and something might go viral, and you'll get into it. But for the most part, just going up and doing a couple posts a week or doing a bunch of posts at once and then kind of letting it sit is really never going to produce the results you're looking for. It's just impossible to coalesce a group of people, the right group of people, through social posting. I mean, imagine if you're a criminal lawyer, there's just no way you can build a group of people who are about to commit a crime or might need your services. With others that I spoke about before, like estate planning, you can start to do that a little bit more, but in the end, most people are not going to kind of show their cards and recreationally like a law firm's page. And so that really only leaves you with one other available strategy for this, and that's to become an influencer. And so I'm not necessarily talking about like a Kim Kardashian level influencer, but somebody who has a bit of a following, right, and can kind of cross sell or bring in people outside of just their friends and family group. And so that would be an area where you can actually get a little bit of value by building that audience and kind of becoming like a local celebrity. The problems here are, number one, it's hard. Having this takes, I think, real skill, real talent associated with it. You can't just kind of, you know, just decide one day you're going to do it. The people who I see are actually successful with this, like, love it. They do content all the time, and have either kind of gotten into a specific sub audience, you know, that they've found some sort of connection with, or they are just legitimately very talented, very good, have some sort of special skill that's making them stand out above everybody else. That is not you or me for the most part. And so going in with this idea that you're just going to throw up a bunch of videos of you, you know, showing the office and, you know, doing a cute dance here and there, and then one of your results is, for me, it's completely impossible in my mind. The other problem I see with this route that most firms have, when going down this and saying, "Oh, we're going to do social," you know, these other lawyers are doing it, and you know, their business is blowing up, right? The common approach that I see is they're going to hire an agency if you're getting into this, and or a coaching group. I've seen this as well with some of the large coaching groups out there that work with law firms. They've also started to add, you know, these other products, right? And they will give you like 100 different social posts and kind of all of this pre-made content, and it's all the same, and it's junk. It is just absolutely junk. It may have worked for one person, and then it gets mass produced, and it's, you know, really no hook, no, you know, no real draw, and it's just ineffective in cultivating this audience that is, you know, presumably you want to become as your clients. And so when you get this agency content, it's usually recycled. It really produces no engagement, and ultimately it's ineffective in actually producing clients. And then the final part of the challenge of this is that this is often billed as a really low cost, high ROI strategy. And this is, in my experience, not true at all. We do offer social. So just to be completely transparent, we do, but we see it as more of a brand aid and something to help you kind of stay in front of the people you already have connections with. And, you know, to some degree, just be front of mind with those folks. Same thing with email marketing and newsletters that we do. But the idea that you're just going to, you know, press a couple buttons, schedule 100 posts, and then the people are just going to come rolling in because they're like, you know what, I love that inspiring quote on a Tuesday. I was needing that. It just is not going to happen. And it really shocks me how often that, you know, and how easily this is sold from some of these coaching groups, when their whole thing is ROI, 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 right? And then the moment they put in a marketing product that they're going to utilize like this, it's like, well, this can't really be judged through ROI, right? This isn't really going to meet, you know, or be judged the same way other marketing methods are. And it's like, oh, okay, I think I get it. You know, you don't have to play by the rules that you're asking your clients to play by in terms of making sure they get ROI, valid, you know, a valid return on investment. And this system, you know, is just ultimately not not functional, and really, in my view, not very repeatable. It takes somebody who is willing to get in front of camera, likes it, lives in that world kind of on a daily basis, likes to experiment, likes to test. And so if you're coming into it, you know, and you don't really like social media, you don't like being on camera, you know, it's probably not going to work out very well for you. And so I'm totally fine with folks making these investments and testing these things out. But the conclusion I have out of this area is that it needs to be proportional to the amount of value you're getting out of this strategy, right? And so if they are unable to show you ROI through either of those efforts, organic or paid social, you need to hit the eject button and get out of there ASAP. Now, let's go into the effectiveness of ads. So this is a bit of a change that we've seen over the past 6 months to a year. And our top two strategies are always SEO and ads. Advertising A lot of benefits. It can get you leads very quickly. You can get up and running super fast and start to get that ROI very quickly. Now, one thing happened about 2 years ago, I would say 2 or 3, where Google started introducing something called local service ads. And local service ads were, basically these simplified versions of their pay-per-click platform. And so there's a bunch of benefits. We have other content about LSAs that I'm not really going to get into right now. And we can, you can find them on our YouTube channel and through the website. But what happened as these LSAs were made available is that people, the vast majority of people didn't use them. And so when you have a situation like that in an advertising platform, the costs are super low. And so you had this kind of golden period where people were getting insane low cost leads for personal injury, in these other areas that were typically pretty expensive in the PPC route. And it was a really good value because you could dispute your leads. You could really just set it and forget it. And what we're now finding is that I think it's kind of hit its capacity in terms of market saturation. And now really everybody's in on it. And so, all of your competitors, they're into it. And so as a byproduct of that, the market is much, much, much more expensive for this. And so we're actually seeing a swing in the way we're working with this and developing it into our strategy. Is we're kind of swinging back into the other way in terms of utilizing Google's regular pay-per-click option, because we think it may be a better option in a number of scenarios, kind of depending on the practice area. So there's 3 real reasons why we would want to, focus on both. Our strategy is typically to try all things, try each platform and see where you're getting the most value in terms of the lowest cost per lead, the best quality leads, and who you're actually converting to cases. So number 1, there's a higher barrier of entry to pay-per-click. Anyone and their mom can do LSAs. It literally takes a couple of clicks, and there's no performance benefit by hiring someone, really. Just to be completely honest, we will run these for you, but there's not any sort of special levers that we're pulling or ability to really create meaningful change in those campaigns. It's all run by Google, and so anyone can do it, and anyone has done it. Number 2, you can get a lot more specificity in your targeting by going through a pay-per-click campaign. You can do a lot more negative targeting. You can go by region. You can really slice and dice how you want to approach it and put things in different campaigns, and be super specific. With LSAs, you can do some of that targeting as far as, I want to be in this certain category, I want to be in this certain region. But what we have found is that you might do something or put yourself in a criminal defense category, and then it's really a black box. You have no idea what search terms Google is using to trigger your ads. And what that leads to is a lot of unqualified leads. Google has no incentive to give you just the cream of the crop, right? Just the people who are not the tire kickers and who are, actually interested in your services. The leads that you get, you can dispute them. However, this is changing and starting to change, and I don't want to cover it now, but it looks like Google LSA is basically not going to allow those disputes anymore, or it's going to be a modified version. And so you're going to have less of that control, and basically, whatever Google gives you, you're going to have to take it, right? So we think, depending on the practice area, you may want to use both, or you may want to use just LSA or just pay-per-click. It really depends on your market and your practice area. The final part, and I've already gone over this already, you have a lot more control over the success of your campaign with a PPC campaign. You can get in there and you can change all of these options. You can use landing pages. You can have an impact on all of these factors. And in my experience, this gives you the best hedge against everybody else doing the exact same thing that you are. So you can give yourself a competitive advantage by actually doing these better than the other people out there. So in conclusion, on the ad side of this, we still think ads is a proven valuable strategy, but we would highly recommend that you test both of these avenues, both LSA and pay per click. You will see which one is going to give you the most value, and that's then what you want to actually invest the most in, right? And so I always preach invest proportionally in where you're getting the ROI from. And so if you are getting more ROI from one of those, double down, put the extra money on it, bring over the majority of the ad spend on one side to the other. And you'll know that costs are going to rise over time, really for all of them, right? For whether it's LSA or PPC. So keep that in mind as we go into our third point of this, which is, that in our view, SEO is still king, right? And so there's been a lot of folks out there, especially those who are selling social ads, organic social services from a marketing perspective, that are going to say SEO is dead, or SEO is no longer a valid strategy. It doesn't work anymore. It's not as effective anymore, and it's just it's a bad strategy because you've probably spent thousands of dollars on it and got no results. And so there you are, right? Correlation equals causation. And I'm here to tell you that, that really couldn't be further from the truth. And the smart law firms know this. They're spending $10,000, $20,000 a month, really the top of the food chain, kind of law firms that you see on TV still are spending substantially on SEO. And this is not going to change in my view, because as I stated earlier with social, people go there to avoid making decisions. Yes, you can run funnels. Yes, you can build these strategies, but ultimately the vast majority of people are going to pull out their phone or get on their computer to search for a lawyer. Not only does this just make logical sense that when you're looking for a dinner restaurant to go to, you're going to get out your phone and search tacos near me or something like that. And you're going to start your search when you're ready to make that buying decision on Google or on another search engine. And so it's always, at least in the foreseeable future, going to be a central place where people are going to get that information, and it's going to be much more high intent than any of the platforms or any other type of strategy that you might see, like a billboard or anything else that's out there. Now, this is beyond just my personal preference, right? So I can have this opinion, and that's great, right? But you don't know me. You don't have the same, background that I do. So how are you supposed to know whether or not this is actually true compared to what other marketers are out there saying? And I would suggest that you look at some of the case studies on our website, which are for the most part, primarily driven through SEO. We are actively managing 90 clients, 90 different law firms, and by far from a 70% to sub 20% breakdown, you are going to see SEO as the number one driver of business. This is across the board with big firms, small firms, PI, criminal, bankruptcy. It doesn't really matter. All of our clients, even those who are spending very heavily on advertising, still get the majority of their cases coming through SEO. And even for influencer clients, okay, so even for our group of clients who have a background in social, and they came to us with big social presences with 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers, SEO and organic traffic that is being developed off social media platforms is still the number one source of their business. So I'll say that again. Even if you become an influencer and you are able to generate 40,000 people watching, 50,000, 100,000 people on TikTok or something like that, your website, your Google business profile is still going to likely be the number one driver of business if you are also doing SEO, right? If you're not doing any SEO or any ads, then of course your number one attribution channel is probably going to be social. But what this confirms to me is that doing Facebook or doing social, doing video are all good exercises, right? They are good for brand visibility. They're good to help get people to know you. There are other benefits to this, but the the truth is that when it's time to buy, it's a different type of mentality. People are going to be going onto Google and looking for specifically those people, right? And so it helps that you're providing educational content. It gets people to know you, and I would suggest a good number of those people are going to eventually come around and use you if they need a type of service, right? However, people are not recreationally going and looking at what a penalty is for shoplifting in Kentucky on YouTube, unless there's something behind that, right? They're not going to kind of casually get that information like they would maybe for other areas like immigration or estate planning. And so, why is SEO still the king for us in this case? And why we still feel that even now, even with all these other mediums, the next 6 months and the next year, you still should be focusing on SEO. Number one, higher intent, right? I've talked about this a lot. People who are pulling out their phone and searching, much more high intent than somebody on social. The second thing we preach is that SEO benefits are going to compound like the stock market, okay? So these other platforms, doing social, you're not putting into any, building any database, right? You're not building any sort of foundational element that's going to have value over time. Having followers is arguably the same thing, but ultimately, when you're able to create content on your website that puts you in the top results when someone is searching for that lawyer, that's the most valuable thing that you can have. Video has a similar benefit, but people, for the most part, are not going to YouTube to look for a lawyer. And so, yes, it is valuable to build that side of it, but it's not as valuable as your website showing up when somebody's searching for an attorney. And then the final piece of this is that it's scalable. You can keep doing this forever. We have had clients with us for all 8 years of our business, and we're still able to add new content to their website, open up new areas of search. Keep in mind that 50% of all searches on Google are going to be completely unique on any given day. And so what that means is that the way people search changes. New topics are added, are coming up in day-to-day activity in your state, in your area. So there's always more information to be putting out and building that foundation, building that moat around your website so that you are the person of authority in your market when someone's searching anything related to the service that you provide. So let's go over just finally 2 quick kind of overlooked strategies that I think are important as well and can add value over the course of your next 6 months to a year that don't get as much play, but I still think are beneficial. And so, in terms of the ranking scale that I like for the most value, I would say SEO, advertising, and then I would get into things like lifetime value strategies. And so for me, those are things like email marketing, sending out newsletters. You could add social into this as well. And then we are also going to talk about DIY video content. So first, with email marketing, simple, effective, very simple, strategy for this would be sending 2 newsletters per month to your past clients, friends, people in your orbit who know about your business. And you could do it in 2 ways. There's 2 topics you could go with. One, value oriented. That would be one email of the 2. And then the second would be maybe a case study, maybe a result, and kind of more promotional with it. Don't expect a ton out of this. We see conversions happen out of this and new clients come every single month. And it's so easy to do. You can set this up and you can block out a whole year of this content so that it's going on autopilot. You can also cross-sell services. You can get more lifetime value out of your clients by requesting reviews, asking them to give you referrals. And all of this is going to kind of help you stay top of mind when maybe one of their friends needs your services, or maybe depending on the practice area that they need another service, something like that. So don't sleep on this. Same thing with social. Have a strategy, do it. I'm just saying don't make it the cornerstone of your strategy and expect it to be the main driver of new leads and bringing people into your orbit. The second thing in this group is going to be DIY video content. And what I mean by this is essentially building a presence on a platform like YouTube, creating helpful videos that are going to cover all of the different services you provide, questions, basically going to mirror the content that's on your website. So on the website side, we want you to be an authority. We want Google to see you as the primary authority in your market. Kind of the same with YouTube, right? And while we don't see them on equal footings or equal levels, because typically when someone's searching for a law firm, the search results not going to show video content, and so your chance of meeting with those people who are high intent on a video platform it's less likely, right? However, it still can be valuable, and I really like about utilizing video content is that unlike social platforms where you're just writing posts and effectively, if they don't get seen immediately, then they're pretty much gone. You can actually build residual value and build that value that compounds over time on these platforms, on a platform like YouTube, because unlike the others, you're building a database, right? And so you can go and create 100 videos, and you're essentially creating planting these seeds and getting value down the road. Because if you have some of these hyper specific topics about your area, there is a chance that you will show up in search results with your video content. You can also use this video content in a variety of ways, like sending it out via your newsletters, your email marketing. You can send it to new clients. You can, basically repurpose it and add it to web pages so that people are sticking on your web pages a little bit longer, building that dwell time and, creating some engagement. So if you were to, think about what you could do kind of on your own without an agency, I think this would be it. You don't need really any formal training. All you need is a webcam, essentially, and you don't need some sort of fancy setup to do it. One of our clients who's pretty prolific and has 50,000 followers on YouTube, 100,000 on TikTok. His setup's not super fancy. I mean, it's gotten better as he's gone along, but you can get a very solid setup for absolutely under $1,000 on Amazon. I meant to say under $500 on Amazon. You want to get a good light, a pretty good camera, and a good microphone, and you're pretty much set, right? And you just go on, talk about what you know, and you're kind of going for topical authority, right? And so your goal over the course of a couple of years would be get 100 videos on there, and I think you'd be surprised at the benefit that you would see over time. Just remember to kind of get your mindset around that this is a longer term investment, and you want to think of it just like SEO content. You're playing the long game, planting these seeds for down the road. So I think that's it. I think we've covered everything, and so I'm interested. What's your point of view on this? I have strong opinions about this. I don't deal in absolutes though, and I'd love to see hear what's working for you right now, or if you feel very strongly against any of these, because I've certainly adjusted my positions over time on different marketing strategies and different things. And I really just focus on the data as I see it, and not really try to get into what I think will work best, or real preachy about something that that I think sounds good on paper. I focus and deal exclusively with ROI, and so that's what backs up my positions in this area. So if you are making your marketing plan, or you're doubling down or thinking about what you need to do for the next 6 months, highly recommend get started with SEO, start making videos, don't forget email marketing, and if it makes sense, get into advertising as well if the return on investment is there. All right, thanks. Appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, want me to audit your website, talk about your marketing strategy, always happy to do it. Promise no hard sells. Really do enjoy talking shop on this. So give me a shout, Patrick, at goconstellation.com, or you can check us out at goconstellation.com. Thanks. Have a great day.